Well, basically, this is how I see morality. It is, as you said, definitely an in-group, out-group mentality.
Sure.
But I think morality and ethics evolve over time. And I think that's something that we need to embrace and see as a good thing.
Wait. Define
you want
ethics.
Me to give you an example? Okay, at one time, not that long ago in this country, it was considered acceptable to own another human being as agricultural equipment.
Sure.
And
but they were considered an outgrowth. So parsing morality from ethics isn't possible exactly, right? So to define them separately isn't exactly necessary, right?
I don't understand where you're coming from there.
I'm just saying that morality and ethics go hand in hand. They're fucking... Ethics is the handmaiden for fucking morality, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
So
let's put it that way. So let's not even separate the terms.
Sure.
At one time, it was considered ethically viable, ethically acceptable.
Morally. Just say it's morally acceptable to have slaves.
Morally acceptable to have slaves.
Yeah, it was.
My family had slaves.
I don't know much. Obviously, the Forest
Your
side
family
did.
was German. What, Lutheran? What? You probably didn't in your family. But my family was. It was fucking reprehensible.
Nathan Bedford Forrest isn't my
I'll
family.
guarantee if you do fucking...
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I know. But I'll vilify myself instead of you. I'll guarantee if you find all the Mayberries in fucking North America and you compare their DNA to my DNA, we'll probably share Y chromosomes. You know what I mean? Because that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know? So, at one time, that was morally acceptable to own slaves. Now it isn't. Okay? And all those Southerners, when it came down to fucking boiling down the Bible and the ethics that dominated our fucking consciousness for 18 centuries, I mean, you can draw all of these moral conclusions
from the Bible,
saying slavery is acceptable.
Yeah.
We outgrew that. We've outgrown the Bible. We've outgrown Christianity. And that's why I'm saying we've become more inclusive. You know, we've expanded our outgroup. I'm trying to put this in your terms.
A bit amorphic, maybe, but...
Do you understand what I'm saying? We've expanded our outgroup to include all these people
I would
that we
propose
didn't used to.
Some have.
Well, they're still bigots. They're still racist. I mean, personally, my wife's Japanese. I've lived in another culture. I've been exposed.
Here's the thing. That's why I talked about a natural distribution whenever I was talking about something earlier.
Okay.
Because and also I talked about multiple in-groups, right? I consider myself an academic. I consider myself an Oxford. I consider myself whatever the hell.
Okay.
So, I have multiple in-groups. What's funny is that people tend to emphasize, like, as far as self-esteem is concerned, it sounds silly. Coming from biology, I thought self-esteem was really silly about what you find.
I think self-esteem is silly, too, but
self-esteem is important to a person's outcomes as far as how they can say, if they're happy with life.
Okay.
Right? Having self-esteem is important to a person eventually being happy with their life.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
The point before
I'm sorry,
that. I got lost with talking about self-esteem.
I'm trying to put together a video, but you're making it difficult.
I just fucking forgot the point that I was arguing, because so often I don't have to argue for self-esteem, because with psychologists they just know if I say self-esteem
I think it's a cheesy concept, and you introduced it as a cheesy concept.
I did. I thought so too. But again, in psychology, like I said, the numbers are hard to argue with, because you're talking about like self-esteem and like outcomes, and you're talking about like 400 or 500 different studies that you can find, and all of them have good effect sizes. Like,
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I know is anecdotal shit for self-esteem. My sister basically, I went down to visit her last Halloween, and I embarrassed her, and that really lowered my self-esteem. I felt like an asshole.
Well,
you know what I mean?
We're talking about enduring self-esteem, though. We're not talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We're not talking about.
See, I don't understand. You have to define your
There's
terms.
a big difference between state and trait, right? So, like, that's why I ask in my study, precisely, I use a measure that asks, like, in, like, 50 different words, how you feel right now, basically. So it has, like, I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel bummed, I feel whatever the fuck. But in the end, what this does...
Can you ever get an honest answer, though? Or?
Well, that's the thing, is you can't. That's why you ask, that's why you use 50 different terms. Because in the end, the average of all the terms gives you a decent understanding. And what you find is that, it sounds silly, but what you find is that it's so highly consistent across populations that there has to be some truth to it. Because you wouldn't find such consistency if it were completely random.
Okay.
So what you find, again, is that I don't like those things. But the numbers that they produce are significantly non-random.
Okay, so it's reliable.
It's reliable to some degree. It's reliable enough that it's the best that I have to work with. And I believe that's okay.
Well,
so, what I'm saying is that whenever I assess testosterone, at any given point, I assess, number one, state anxiety. How anxious are you? How nervous are you? Because that's going to affect cortisol anyway. So, but then I also assess your mood state. So how vigor there are 5 different actually in this scale. The vigor, tension, and all these things. You add and subtract some things and whatever. But the point is, whenever I want to understand your testosterone, I want to understand how anxious you are, and I want to understand if you have positive or negative mood, basically. So there's a big difference between state self-esteem and trait self-esteem, because with testosterone, baseline levels correlate really highly with state mood. Guys that have really high guys that have really high testosterone tend to feel good about themselves a lot.
Yeah.
They tend to also not be very bright.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen numbers on that because psychologists tend to not want to assess that, but I assessed it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at my numbers, but what you find is that high testosterone tends to lead to impulsivity.
Which tends to lead to prison.
Yeah, well, and prison is highly correlated with lower IQ. So, well, not just that. I mean, there are other things too, though. But I mean, that in and of itself, the correlations between this. Do you know what?
I've felt very aggressive before. You know what I mean? So.
Well, yeah, but feeling really aggressive once.
Nobody pisses me off.
Just once, though.
Aggressive.
But when you're feeling really aggressive, just once.
Why, but.
If I start acting stupid, I'll shoot myself, then I'll sleep when I'm dead.